Martin Luther, Bucharest, 6 August 1977. Martin Luther, German religious reformer. Luminous silver with a triangle on the forehead and a brilliant point of light in its center. A chalice upon the chest, layer V. We ask the blessing of the Heavenly Father to have among us this evening the eminent Augustinian monk, religious reformer, and founder of the Reformed Church, Martin Luther. Veronica, the path has opened. 3 figures are appearing. Why 3? Now the image is perfectly clear. 2 familiar ones and 1 guest. CIU Carta, Calumnus, and our invited guest. The image continues to draw nearer. Greet them. I offered the customary greeting, expressing our respect and esteem for the great reformer. CIU Carta. As a representative of the divine light, appointed to initiate one of the purposes of the great governor, you know very well that I am the one who guided our friend Veronica and initiated her. From the age of 6, when she was entrusted to my care, I was appointed to guide her, to be her guide, and to explain to her what the mission was. Martin Luther, Bucharest, 6 August 1977. Martin Luther, German religious reformer, luminous silver with a triangle on the forehead and a brilliant point of light in its center. A chalice upon the chest, layer V. We ask the blessing of the Heavenly Father to have among us this evening the eminent Augustinian monk, religious reformer, and founder of the Reformed Church, Martin Luther. May be received by every honest person who desires only to fulfill the voice of justice within himself, thereby accomplishing the will of the Creator of the universe. I have come to tell you that I myself was directly commissioned by the great teacher, Jesus Christ, to initiate and support the revolt of your guest today against the injustices and abuses of those representatives of the Church who, in the name of the King of Light, committed grave departures from truth. I have come not merely to assure you that this is so, but to demonstrate that honest actions are inspired, guided, and brought to completion through us, the spirits who invisibly help and direct those who faithfully obey the divine commandments. I ask that the blessing of the throne of light, of the great force, ever active, ever moving toward perfection, descend upon you. Calumnus, as the one appointed to accompany your work, I ask the great force and the great divine mind to bless you. I now give the floor to your guest. Luther is dressed exactly like CIU Carta and Calumnus. A white garment is draped over one shoulder. His head is uncovered. He has a short beard. His expression is severe. His eyes are like glowing lamps, bright, penetrating, powerful. Martin Luther, I ask the blessing of the Father, the Lord, the Creator of justice, and of the entire universe, to descend also upon you, my beloved brothers and friends, workers in the field of truth. I thank you for your sympathy, your esteem, your respect, and your confidence. Although during earthly life I did not belong to the same religious tradition as you, you have given me great joy by directing your thoughts toward me, toward a reformer, a man who stepped beyond the limits of conventional obedience, striking in every direction against greed, hypocrisy, pretense, and above all, against spiritual theft. You have learned that I was a reformer of the Western Church. That is true, but what I accomplished did not truly originate with me. There existed a force above me that took hold of me and acted through my person. It did not attack what was beautiful within the Church. Rather, it crushed what had offended the eye of divine justice. The Church itself was not the problem. The problem was those people who always sought to dominate and control the humble and the trusting, while boasting that they represented the one who declared that he would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Those proud and hypocritical leaders of the Church, once elevated to high positions, instead of lifting up the oppressed and the poor, they lived in luxury, placing false burdens upon the backs of simple believers, promising them eternal happiness and forgiveness of sins in exchange for money. How could I believe such things? How could I possibly accept such absurdities? The voice within me spoke clearly. Forgiveness and salvation cannot be purchased with money. Yet those humble people, through taxation, suffering, and humiliation, were in reality the ones acquiring divine grace. The Creator of justice could not tolerate such cruel humiliation and exploitation of divine goodness. From many hearts, murmurs of dissatisfaction began to arise. But someone had to stand up, someone like me, someone who was not afraid of excommunication, who was not afraid of curses or anathemas, someone willing to break away from the religion into which he had been born in order to obey the inner voice that commanded, stop the injustice, break the blind barrier of ignorance. Their excommunications and anathemas did not destroy me. Instead, they elevated both me and those who stood beside me. Thus the movement grew into the great force that you now know. They called me a madman, a fanatic. They gave me every possible insult. Those good and pious people were themselves terrified and manipulated by those who held ecclesiastical power. Martin Luther, I do not claim that no mistakes found their way into the body of teaching that grew out of my work through the passing years. But understand this, what is taken into account is not the small errors, those ordinary mistakes belonging to earthly human beings. What truly matters is avoiding the great sins, the serious deviations that corrupt the truth itself. Our friend, Ciu Carta, the Silver One, has himself testified that he contributed to my revolt against the church leadership. Yet, in reality, it was not a revolt against the church, but against what its leaders had become. As you know from studying the history of religions, the seed sown through a humble man such as myself grew, multiplied, and spread, not for my own glory, but to suppress injustice and allow truth to triumph. Ciu Carta was not the only one who helped me from the victorious world, nor was I the only one to be initiated. Secretly, many stood beside me, men filled with the same thirst for truth and justice. They fought shoulder to shoulder with me against that enormous colossus of hypocrisy, those who proudly called themselves the representatives of the Apostle Peter. George, you have our complete sympathy and admiration for the greatness and strength of your ideas. We love you dearly. Martin Luther, thank you, and I love you as well, not because you summoned me, but because you love justice in the light of truth. George, were you simply a monk, or did you hold a higher office within the church? Martin Luther, do not imagine that I was a bishop. I was a priest and a monk. Yet beside me stood many, very many. Only the one who gave me that holy madness, that burning fury, to strike relentlessly against my superior. How many there were! My direct superior at that time was the bishop, whose greatest concern was gathering more money and greater wealth. I no longer remember his name, but my first conflict, my first battle, was fought against him. In the end, he was left ashamed and defeated. An honest work, even when it advances slowly, still advances. Slowly, yet it remains immortal, because within it there is life, and wherever there is life, there exists something immortal. By being lived, truth sends roots deep into the earth, strong, lasting roots, which cannot easily be torn out by the storms raised by those false, hypocritical impostors, dressed in magnificent robes, claiming that through such garments they represent the supreme head of divinity. It almost makes me laugh when I think of their blindness and darkness. The beauties of divinity, the beauties of immortality, have no equal. They are obtained with surprising ease by those who live honestly, who struggle for themselves, for their fellow human beings, and for the truth. George, have you returned to earth since then? Martin Luther, no, I have not returned, nor shall I return, except into a new world, which all of us are awaiting. George, before becoming Luther, from which spiritual realm did you come? Martin Luther, you already know that all those who fulfilled special missions upon earth were themselves special beings, capable of extraordinary deeds, souls set apart, formed from a stronger, more concentrated substance, able to establish communion with the great divine force and with the higher spirits. Therefore, know this, I too was sent. I descended from the Golden City with a special mission upon earth, a mission initiated by the great teacher, Jesus Christ himself. George, then you belong to the Golden City? Martin Luther from the Golden City. Now I dwell in Layer 8. George, we would like to see your spiritual foundation. Veronica, brilliant silver white, a large triangle upon his forehead, approximately 30 centimeters across. The triangle itself radiates light, and in its center shines an extraordinarily brilliant light. Over his heart, upon his chest, there is also a magnificent chalice. George, we would also like to know the characteristics of your spiritual magnetic field. Calamus, The field of light extends 3.20 meters around his body. The radius of his magnetic field extends 14.70 meters.